And today we're checking out 18-year-old regrets taking tren. Now, I don't know exactly what tren is, but if I'm not mistaken, I'm sure it's a steroid of some type. What do y'all think about taking steroids? I ain't never took one. Well, let's go ahead and see what's up.
Year-old started taking a massive amount of tren before he was ever even 19. This was when he was 18.
Oh no. Already, bro. Bro got a straight up blockhead.
And possibly even into his 17 years of age, his ripe 17 years of age, where he had tons of training experience, and ultimately gave himself a Minecraft head. I am not kidding.
Disclaimer,
For real, straight up
Minecraft
Minecraft head.
Do not contact anyone shown in this video. Also, this video is discussing steroids.
Do not use steroids.
This is entirely for educational and entertainment purposes only.
How you doing, folks? Thank you for coming back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about this wild transformation that tren gave this dude at a very young age, and how he's come to see the light and doesn't want to be on steroids anymore.
We are back! We are back!
This is what he looked like before. A tapered jaw, a great physique, to be honest. Like a physique that I think
If you looking like this, what do you need steroids for, man? At that point, it's got to just be like an addiction or something. Like, he has a really good physique. This is a great physique. You don't need to get any bigger than this. Like in case y'all don't know, the ladies don't like the big giant super buff dudes. They like more like this. This is already more than muscular enough. So who are y'all doing this for? Unless y'all are planning on being in one of them like bodybuilding competitions, then that's the only time I'd say, okay, it makes sense that he's using steroids. But besides that, if you're just trying to be big and bulk, just get it naturally. It looks so much better.
a lot of people would really appreciate. And then tren turned him into this. Literally Bob from Minecraft.
He looked 30.
Now, he says currently that he thinks tren is awful and in general steroids.
Tren
This guy
baloney.
says obviously the pose is different, but you look better in pick 4 in my opinion. He says that the 4th is natty and I'm on a cut, never take gear. And this is an interesting switch up from him because as you'll soon see when we go back in the history here, things get a little bit crazy. By the way, this story is compliments to none other than Greg Doucette's own subreddit. So thanks, Greg. Don't buy Turkestrone though. Just don't buy that. If you wanted to buy something, you could support our company and this channel here, Blue Mind Boost. We offer a couple different product options. Posts where you had a Minecraft head. Glad to see you came back to your senses. He says, thanks, brother. Feeling 1,000 times better. Was there any issue when you stopped? Like side effects? Never used them. Never had any friends who did either. More just curiosity. He says, yeah, the main issue was paranoia. I was paranoid. He doesn't know how to spell or complete sentences. I mean, this is a literally just a massive run on. There's not even a period in here, so it's literally just, I don't know what this is, grammatically speaking. But I'm assuming what he was trying to say is that he was paranoid, thinking that his girl was going out all the time and cheating, when in reality she would just be at home, at her house. You feel like a god in the gym, but when you are actually by yourself, you realize how awful it is. You deeply lose yourself, in his own words. Something that I've said many times before, how tren can change architecture.
Yeah, so it's an obsession. It's like an addiction, I guess. I would attribute it to being like an addiction. Because you do not have to be that big, bro.
Your brain, it can all modify your brain chemistry acutely and change your perception of reality. And it can be a good thing. Some people perceive this as a good thing. They feel more productive, less emotional, but at the end of the day, long enough, it's going to cause problems. To have to stop steroids because it makes you uber paranoid and super anxious is never a good thing. And you never want to get to that.
And it makes your balls swell down. Gonna have little bitty balls.
Place anyways. I just can't even imagine the setup there. Like his girlfriend's sitting at home texting him and he's like, oh my God, you're fucking cheating on me. You're cheating on me. You're fucking cheating on me.
You wanted me. Here I am.
I didn't want you. I don't even know who you are.
Where's Dent?
You know, and it's like, dude, brother, she's at her house. And this is so common. Like you see this a lot in tren users. In this post, he talked about how he was upset with how it made him look and age. He looked quite literally like garbage. This commenter says, I get your struggle. I loved having muscles, but hated how tren made my face look 5 to 10 years older and bloated AF. I miss both saying af and then as fuck, and it just combined the two. I'm glad I got off, and I'm glad the effects were reversible since my face is my moneymaker. I really wish teenagers were forced to go through 6 months of counseling before getting on gear. It truly does wreak havoc on your entire body and mind during critical periods of development. Yeah, it is called a doctor. You go to the fucking doctor. That there's really not a better way to say this. Real talk though, I think this is why a lot of the, illegalized compounds in the United States that are completely legal elsewhere should be legalized, because then at least you could give people an entry into doing these things, and with that entry you could give them education, counseling, do psychological evaluations. I mean, these are things that are really, really important that people completely avoid doing because it's illegal, so they just go underground and do this stuff on their own with their own research, which is almost always inadequate.
I'm very sorry. This is just a big misunderstanding.
He even says here that 100% absolutely it is definitely something that should not be overlooked, especially with TikTok and how people are treated for the way that they look. The inflation of physical manifestation is crazy. It is. I think it's like a wild phenomena to me that everybody has to be shredded and jacked and super uber full all of the time to be a fitness influencer. Like that is like the standard. You enter the fitness influencing
Look at this dude. Look at Bane over here. Dang.
space, you need to be a freak, and that just is a matter of fact. And with being a freak comes usage of steroids, peptides, and many.
Look at this dude. Look like he can't touch his head though. Like he look like he can't do this. You get stuck right here. Like you can't scratch your back at all. Like I want to be able to do this for the rest of my life. Scratch my back, reach back there. Get that itch. You this big, you struggling, about to die from that itch.
Other things. He says here that he took 400 milligrams of tren and 120 micrograms of clenbuterol. 400 milligrams is an insane amount of tren, but then pairing that with
like
120 micrograms of clenbuterol is never a good recipe for enjoying your life. This is a horrible concoction, but obviously one a lot of people use. When you combine tren with clenbuterol, you're constantly in a fight or flight state. Just to give you some background here, clenbuterol is a beta-2 agonist. It massively fluctuates the sort of epinephrine-based response in your body. It gives you that sort of on-edge, like really overly caffeinated feeling, elevates your heart rate, makes you go, 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 go. But then you pair that with tren, which is doing the same thing to your neurology. You are never in a state of rest, and you're constantly throttling your nervous system and stressing it out. And then you already pair that with the environment that he said he was in, which was jealousy. And then you give yourself a shit ton of stimulants, and you're sitting at home alone contemplating whether your girlfriend is cheating on you or not. You're gonna get turned into an absolute psychopath. Like this is how, by definition, you melt your brain. It's not just the one compound, but it's the polypharmacy at use here. And again, at the age of 18. Anyways, I found this user on Reddit, and he's been posting in the Greg Doucette subreddit as well as a few others for over a year now. Specifically, he started posting a lot when he obviously started to hop on gear, which was about over a year ago. So a little bit of an indication that he may have been on before he was even 18, and he's just telling everybody that he was 18. I'm not so sure. But during this period of time, way back when, he was posting about it, boasting about his physique, responding to comments very negatively, saying that they don't understand him, they don't understand what he's doing. He's taking things into his own hands, of course. This commenter said, "Bro is the same age as me and looks like one of my dad's friends." Dog, that is diabolical. Another commenter says, "You look insanely better natural. I feel bad for this next generation." Yeah, I can't help but resonate with that. I feel absolutely awful for the generation that's coming up, like the 14, 15-year-olds right now who are into fitness and into weightlifting, and they're bombarded with people like the Tren Twins and Toji and like all of these guys who characteristically promote gear use basically 24/7.
Good afternoon. I know what you're thinking. Another guy hawking healing crystals door to door.
On some of the initial posts, people made his faults very clear. They were open about them, talking about how idiotic and stupid he was, and quite frankly, why this is a terrible idea. Saying that he looked so aged that he could be, again, their dad's friend, or that he looked better natural. And in this post, you can see just how badly he has aged his face, but also how bloated his face got. His starting point looked good too. He had a great physique, good genetics when he started taking the dive into to the trenbolone sandwiches, he literally lost like 8 points to the face and turned into an absolute unit in terms of his head mass. Like his cranial mass developed so quickly. I don't understand how this even happens, to be honest with you. I do, mechanistically speaking, but it is a crazy transformation. His face basically turned into a poorly cut leather.
This is after 1 year. 1 year. Is that worth it to y'all? Is it worth it to get all them extra muscles and be that buff and basically speed up the process? Because you can get really big naturally if you wanted to. But is that worth it to go from this to this? Like, he really does look like he about 35 right here. And he's like, what, 18, 19?
Cloth wrapped around a Rubik's Cube really loosely. I mean, you can literally see the oxidative stress accumulating on bro's face. He looks older. It's not getting bigger by the day for him. It's getting shittier facial aesthetics by the day for him. He also then starts posting about his acne development and ingrown hair development. And it's crazy how quickly this escalated from where he was before. This is a common trait that steroid users will tend to experience: acne development, ingrown hair development, due to pores excreting more fluids. It's called sebum. It's a mixture of triglycerides and cholesterol and a whole host of bacteria that can cause issues with your pores, clog them, infect them, and of course make ingrown hairs more of a possibility too. It leads for terrible skin texture, long-term skin damage that develops scarring, and ultimately not a great appearance. I have no idea what this picture is referring to. The hemlock method? Is that like PG? Can I even say that? I don't know what that is. What is the hemlock method? Let me look. Yeah, no clue. No idea what that is. But bro was not looking bad. I mean, this was around 17 years of age, 16 years of age for him, and he was already developing a really great physique. Better yet, his face looked completely normal. He didn't have an normally enlarged or aged face. He just needs time. Like, that's really all he needs to perfect this physique. He needs a good year of training underneath his belt to see things come to fruition that he wants to see. He's already got a great set of genetics. But of course, he shotguns that idea and just completely blasts his brains out first. And instead, we have Minecraft face. That is what we're left with. Did his physique get better? Well, sure. Yeah, it did, but not to a point where people would start considering him a god amongst men. It wasn't necessarily worth it in terms of the cost analysis, because quite frankly, his arms and vascularity and all these other things look nice, but does everybody else think you look nice? You know, I don't think so. I think you're much less approachable, much less likable. You're a paranoid freak. Like, it's not necessarily a good trade-off, which I feel like everyone thinks they're going to turn into this god when they hop on trend.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah, dude, we're gonna hop on trend and get fucking massive, and everyone's gonna think we're so sick, and we're gonna get super popular on social media, and it's gonna be fucking great, dude. Let's pin some fucking trend.
And that's like so far from the truth. So far from the truth. He says that over a year ago, he had to take things into his own hands. On this post specifically, this is not taking things into your own hands for any particular reason. This is putting like your whole pot of money on black and hoping for the best.
All in 6 million.
I mean, it's literally the definition of taking your hands off the wheel and losing control because you don't know what else to do. Control and taking things into your own hand would, for me at least, represent discipline, consistency over a long duration of time, not necessarily just blasting whatever you can to get the best results that you can. I mean, it's quite literally the opposite. Another commenter said, it's your own choice that you hopped on gear. This was over a year ago. He says, but the unnatty physique is perfectly natty achievable. Imagine shaving years off of your life in the name of rushing things to get bigger just for the sake of getting bigger. Then he claps back with, again, very hard to understand sentence. If you can achieve this natty, do it, question mark. It's like saying that you can do something and still give your opinion on another person doing it. Makes zero sense. Whatever you just said makes zero sense, quite frankly. I don't even understand what the fuck you're trying to make as a point there. I mean, he almost counters his own argument. Like, if you could achieve this naturally, why not just do it? Like, go achieve it naturally. You know, take the fucking time and learn how to make the correct steps in your life. And the funny thing is he's getting so defensive in these early days. He's getting so defensive over his decision being the right decision for him. People were expressing the fact that it was reckless, it was short-sighted, and it was dumb. And he continued to clap back and say that this is completely irrelevant and that it wasn't dumb for him. Another commenter says, bruh, you trained for 3 years, started blasting. I've trained for 14 years, no steroids, ever. Why? He says, not your body, and we are different, bro. Not and, The letter N. I can do what I like. I'm just sharing my experience. That commenter says, I want you to live a long life. But right, do you, bro? Fair enough. You know, like there's not really a good way to come back from that. He continues to say, I know people think that steroids end everything, including life, but it's like I am fully aware of what I'm doing and don't intend to be on for the rest of my life. I do my PCT, HCG, and I am sure I'm ready. Boy, that is an optimistic can take if I've ever seen one. Holy. HCG is a human chorionic gonadotropin. It's a fertility drug basically, but it also stimulates the production of testosterone. Hypothetically speaking, it's supposed to turn your HPTA back on, your hypothalamic pituitary testicular axis, but it doesn't always work that easy, especially when you're taking 19 nortestosterone derivatives of steroids, which is what trenbolone is. It's terribly miscalculated, and generally speaking, most people could use it and benefit from it in this context as a post-cycle therapy, but quite frankly, most of them don't know how to use it because they don't understand the mechanics or pharmacodynamics or kinetics of the drugs that they're already taking. For instance, how long is the tren going to be in the system? How long are tren's metabolites in your system? Because those things inhibit natural and endogenous production of testosterone too. So it's like, yeah, I'm just going to take HCG and be good, bro. I'll fucking drop huge loads next week. It's like, no, dude, no. Clearly what we are seeing here is an enlargement of one's ego that is expanding far greater than his own lane. But what's grown more is that noggin, bro. That noggin has grown as well as his age. Visually, he looks like dog ass, and I'm glad he made the change, and hopefully more people use this as leverage to make a change themselves. Now, why do steroids do this? Why is Tren doing this? Why is it making his face bigger? There's a lot of different reasons, actually. Like, it's multifactorial. One, steroids in general work on renin-angiotensin-aldosterone systems. This is like your body's natural way of regulating water, and the problem is they can cause greater degrees of sodium retention. That sodium retention is problematic because it's osmotic sodium. That means water follows it. So you increase the degree of water retention you experience, and this isn't selective towards muscle, or in other words, intracellular water retention. This is very much so extracellular water retention as well. But then you have the other factor that these steroid hormones, or at least some of them, such as testosterone, converted to estradiol. And estradiol is also going to cause water retention because it increases aldosterone sensitivity and it promotes the kidneys to retain more sodium. So you have an androgen that's retaining more sodium, and then you have estrogen, which is in abundance now retaining more sodium, leading to massive amounts of subcutaneous water retention in your face, hands, ankles. You get the point. But then specifically trenbolone, an anabolic steroid that has glucocorticoid cross reactivity, is one that is going to affect fat distribution, and in particular, it's going to redistribute fat towards the face and a supraclavicular area. No, not the influencer. All right, get your fucking head out of there. Okay, we're not brain rotten today. This is a very common feature in a lot of bodybuilders, and you'll see that their heads develop this fat face. They get really round, big craniums. They get huge heads. I mean, Mike Isertel is really a prominent figure here when we talk about this. This is a common experience that many steroid users will have during their career, especially if they're using high doses for a prolonged period of time. You will have redistribution of fat, but you'll also have this subcutaneous water retention, and then not to mention bone maturation, which can alter your facial aesthetics and change the structure of your face. In this case, his face got very square, round, and puffy, and also aged like shit. I just got to add that in there. Why does that happen? Oxidative stress. When you take steroids, you're burning the candle at both ends. Yes, you're building more muscle, but your cellular turnover is much faster, resulting in well-aged cells that go far beyond their actual biological age. In general, this as like a first step is absolutely idiotic. Like, I don't see the point at all. In fact, arguably the most important point here to make would be take your time. I think taking your time has so much value that has lost itself on people. Today in social media, all you get is vertical content that's telling you need to have a Lamborghini SVJ tomorrow. You need to have $1 million in rev per year at the age of 19. You can't slow down, bro. Everybody else is surpassing you. But quite frankly, that's not true. The same goes for your physique. You don't need to go so peaking fast. Take your time with it. The fact is, there is much more to life than how you present yourself online. And if the internet wants you to look jacked and trend is the only way to do that, you're fucked. That's not how you should look at reality. In fact, you should look to your left and right and see who's next to you. If you're like me, you have nobody next to you, but that's irrelevant. Look to the left and right and see who's next to you, and then actually think about how you could impact their lives or make your reflection look better to them as opposed to the people on the internet that have no interaction with your personal character. But this doesn't make any sense to a underdeveloped 17-year-old, 18-year-old trying to make these kinds of decisions, and it's why it's so destructive and unfortunately wildly accessible to this demographic. I don't know, what are your guys' thoughts? I'd be curious to see down below. I appreciate you sitting here.
Man. Yeah, them steroids, man. Them steroids is dangerous. I'm scared to even try them. One, because I don't feel the need to do it. I could achieve exactly what I want to look like as far as my physique just with exercise. But two, I don't like the heart effects it has on you. Like, it raises your blood pressure, and I already have high blood pressure in my family. And it just makes your heart, it just puts too much stress on your heart. And I try to take good care of my heart. So steroids ain't for me. But what about y'all? Y'all gonna take some steroids? Y'all gonna juice up? However they say it. You don't need it, man. You don't need it. Just get in the gym. Get in the gym. And if you don't have a gym, just do some push-ups, squats, and sit-ups. And stretch. And then eat healthy. And take a walk every once in a while. That's all you need to have a really good physique. You'll get the nice chiseled face. It won't look all big and Minecrafty. And you'll be lean and strong and agile. You don't need no more than that. You don't need no more than that. You don't need to walk around looking like the Hulk. And the women don't even like it. So what are we doing this for? But I don't know. Let me know y'all thoughts in the comments, man. But thank you for tuning in. That's all we got on this one. So make sure you stay blessed. Peace out.